What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Happy new comic book day. Happy Whiplash Wednesday. This is Brandon.
Stefan.
Albert loves comics.
Welcome back to Comics Kings, or welcome to the kingdom if this is your first time here. Today's video on this Whiplash Wednesday, we're going to be talking about the different reading styles, the pros and cons to reading digitally, single issues, and then in collected editions. So we're going to go over why it is important to read an omnibus, why it's important to read your single issues, and the benefits of reading things digitally, or kind of the negatives of reading in those distinct reading styles. Today, of course, I'm joined by Stefan, as always. We also have Albert from AlbertLovesComics. Albert, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Brandon. And Steph, it's great to meet you. I can be found on TikTok and Instagram, Albert Loves Comics. I do book reviews and I share some of my cool hauls and stuff that I like.
Nice. 100%. I've checked out Albert's videos a lot over on TikTok. It's really fantastic. Albert will take a story off his shelf that you see in his background. So it's like exclusive access to the shelf right here, you guys. He's going to crack it open and tell you the whole plot about the book without spoiling it. So take Nick at Night, but on TikTok. So Nick at Night is from our friend Nick Comic Culture, but Nick doesn't do Omnibuy or trade paperback. Albert does. So you have like that whole collected edition pitch for the story that's going on, and it's great. Check out a Stray Dogs video if that's what he's most known for. Got shouted out by Trish Forstner on her Instagram. So that was fantastic. That was a great video, Albert. Thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Or joining us today. And this is Whiplash Wednesday, you guys. So we did start at 11 o'clock with Nick Comic Culture sharing his tour with Toys and Cadets. Go check that out on the replay. We also had Nick again at 5 o'clock sharing his haul from his LCS that he will be doing for Nick at Night on those reviews that we love very much to kick in the new year. It will be the last Nick at Night for 2021. So make sure you guys check out that video. That's going to be fantastic. We'll have my earpieces. 3 o'clock, we have Chatting with the Comic Community. We got our man TM Nerdy. I don't know who he's talking to, but it's going to be a great show. Actually, he's not doing Chatting with the Comic Community. He's doing At Year's End. So he's going to be going over stuff on his channel that happened in 2021 that he is proud of. And then I believe we are ending tonight on Big Herm's channel. We are going to be doing a whole PCP Army Bad Batch backlog, bro, whatever the hell that is. We're going to be doing a whole video celebrating each other. So you're going to see a lot of us in and out. You might be able to figure out what a backlog, bro, is, but tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern time to figure that out because I still have no idea what that is. Hopefully Herm can teach us, and we'll see a lot of the other PCP Army Bad Batch members on that show. So catch us there tonight. But this is our spot on Wednesday, 1 o'clock Eastern time. We're dropping it, so we're not going live, not premiering anymore. Catch this video at 1 o'clock. As soon as it drops, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscription box, hit the subscription button. Also, stay tuned for more announcements for Creators Corner, such as Jed McKay coming to the channel first week in January, followed by Rom V. Wills Portacio again. Both of those guys coming back again, hitting out the month with comic book legend Roy Thomas, you guys. I am really, really, really excited for what 2022 brings for Comics Kings and what we have set up.
Yeah,
it is. Thank you. And of course, couldn't have done it without the Comics Kings crew and everyone in this amazing community. So thank you guys so much for that opportunity. Let's talk about what we're doing here today. We're talking about different reading styles, single issues, digital, and hardcovers. So what's really interesting, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, is after I read a book, let's say like Invincible, like I've read Invincible digitally and in the compendiums. And it was a different kind of reading style. So there's a lot of different benefits. And one of it is there's a different pace of reading a book. I don't know if any of you guys feel that way.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it can be like a subconscious thing. Like, if you're reading a book monthly, the ads, I guess, will kind of like even though you're still being in the story, yeah, it has an effect on how you're interpreting the story. And I do notice, I don't think it affects every book, but I do notice the pacing when it comes to like reading in trades as opposed to reading monthly comics.
100%, man. Albert, how are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good, man. I can agree about the pacing that it definitely feels different if you're doing like a digital read versus a like on paper read as well. Like when I was traveling to Dominican Republic, I couldn't bring all my books with me, so I was reading digitally. And I think the weirdest part was like not knowing when I was getting to the end, and also not being able to see the full page layout like right away. And some comic books have the opportunity to. Every comic book had a different like format, or a different experience with how you were reading it. Like some of them were panel to panel. I remember I was reading Batman Year One digitally, and it like took you it shows you the full page first, and then it zoomed you in. And I'm one of those people who, when I'm reading a book, sometimes I cheat. Like I'll be reading a little bit, and then I'll like sneak my eye over to the right side and see like what happened.
Oh
and,
man,
you know what I mean, and digitally you can't do that. So I think when I'm reading digitally, I usually move faster, but I'm also like kind of lost. I don't really know when am I getting to the end. So there's that benefit there too.
Oh, I completely agree. And I would say that is a downside of reading digitally. It's hard to really capture the substance of the art. I don't know about you guys, but I'm reading a single issue, or if I'm reading a hardcover, the art almost feels like it's like has more weight to it, like physically and like kind of like metaphorically as well. Like if some of it feels more heavily detailed, and it's like I can observe different angles. Like I'm holding it in my hand. I can see different perspectives from it. When it's on my phone or my tablet, it's a lot bigger, but there's not a whole lot of like depth to it, and it just goes by a lot better. Now I will say digitally is much better for reading when you're trying to go to sleep, or when you're not trying to go to sleep and you're trying to stay up. Like I just binged 12 issues of a Miles Morales Spider-Man last night, and it just like felt like 5 minutes of reading.
Yeah, I know. I think that what you were saying, Albert, about the you not being able to see like the full angle of, or like where the book ends.
Right.
I think that where was I going with this? I think that has to do with I think when we read it physically, that we're getting the artist's interpretation fully, how it was meant to be read, the layout. And I don't think every book reads well panel to panel like they try to do with the digital issues. Like, it'll just be like panel 1 and then panel 2. I don't think sometimes it's like the pacing is choppy or off because it's not meant to be read that way. Like it's meant to be interpreted as one page, and then you know what I'm saying? Like
right, there's a specific flow, there's a sequence to the book that you kind of don't get in a digital comic. Also, the like when you're turning the pages, like you're like, oh wow, I'm like an eighth of the way there, and it's like that's kind of rewarding. And digitally, it's like I don't feel like I'm halfway there. I don't feel like I'm 3/4 of the way there. And it's like, if I don't have any motivation to finish that issue, I'm just going to leave it for the next morning and forget everything I just read.
I think, are you guys reading Nightwing right now by Tom Taylor?
Oh, we just did that for Archives.
Oh, well,
last week, so go check out that video, guys.
I got to check it out too. So that art style is really cool because you can see, like, it highlights the aerobatics of Nightwing, right? Like piece by piece. And reading it digitally, it would kind of suck because like you wouldn't get to fully appreciate that flow. And like, the artist was super intentional about that. So I think for Nightwing, you can't read it digitally. Like it's just not the same thing at all. But I also think like one of the weirdest parts about digital, it's like not knowing that you're at the end of the book. Like I think that for me, that's, it's even if you're reading a novel, right? Like, when you're towards the end and you're anticipating the conclusion and all that. So digitally, you can get really lost in it. And sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. I will say the biggest pro of I know we're ragging on digital, and that's not the intention of this video. The intent of this video is to give people their own option to do what they want and to take our opinions and form your own. It's like whenever you get evidence or whenever you get information, right? You want to get multiple sources. You can then form your own path and make your own choices. I will say the biggest pro to reading digitally is the fact that it's butt cheap. Like I have both Marvel and DC like unlimited subscriptions, and it's like what, $16 a month total, and I get to read every comic book that was ever made. So like I get to go back and read Amazing Fantasy 15, and I get to go and read about whatever they're doing in the current series with Ben Reilly at the same time. So it's like that to me is a really big reward. Also, we said like traveling conveniences is a big cause. Also, I feel like some series and some of the way I feel like reading newer comics, right? Like a Champions book, I say reads so much better digitally than it does any other format. Mm-hmm. Because that's what it's intended to capture. Keep in mind with this Milestone relaunch that we're in right now, these books are really dope. And this is like my first big experience to Static, and I'm absolutely loving that book in particular. But it reads so much better digitally because it came out originally as a digital copy. And I think that the way that the colors are formatted and the way that the book feels, the art feels like it was 100% made for that platform in particular. Like we were talking about with the sequence of flow and all of that.
No, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I read Gideon Falls digitally, and it's Andrea Sorrentino's artwork, and I honestly loved that process because each panel was super like intentional. Every panel was really good, and it was very like I got to focus on each panel. And I
Right.
think usually when I'm reading with a paper in my hand, I don't really pay that much attention to the panel artwork.
Oh man.
But I gotta agree with you on the like exposure. I did Amazon's I forget what it's called, Unlimited.
Yeah, it's like Comixology at this point.
Yeah,
Unlimited.
and I read so much stuff I would have never read just because it was in my pocket. So I was like, okay, sure.
Right.
Yeah, let me take a chance on it.
And I will say, like, I know Albert and I have been reading for about the same amount of time, like 5.5 years, going on 6 at this point. I know Stefan has been a much longer reader. But for me personally, like you said, there are books that I would have never touched. There are books that like Stefan will like recommend to me, and I'll be like, "Oh, I can't find this somewhere else." Yeah, so I'm gonna read this on Marvel Unlimited, right?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, so. But if it's like in time enough, I'll wait for the hardcover. But there have been some books that Stefan has, in particular, put me on. I've had to read digitally.
And they're hard to find in print sometimes.
Right, like, I remember I was binging Brian Michael Bendis's Avengers, right? And that's like the prime of Brian Michael Bendis after Daredevil, after Ultimate Spider-Man. That's when he had the crux of the Marvel Universe. I started with the complete collections, and then they got out of print. I like the first 3 complete collections out of like the 6, but I couldn't finish it, so I had to read it digitally. But I started all over for my like OCD purposes and whatnot. But it was a good read, but it would have been better in the complete collections. But just because they're out of print at this point, like you can't find those anywhere. And I'm not paying $50 for a complete collection on eBay when I can get it on my iPad for a lot cheaper.
Right.
All right. So we talked about digital versus like physical. What's your favorite format though to read in?
I would honestly say I've been digging omnibus and hardcovers. I would say the really cool thing about hardcovers, you get like 2 story arcs in one, and like they both have a cohesive ending. I would say like a 12-issue series really works. I would say Tom King in particular works really well in that hardcover format. Some writers, and it's weird because it depends on the book. If a book is a mini series or a maxi series, if you know it's coming to a concrete end, I will more than likely wait for the trade to come out, simply because I know this book is going to start and end. It's not necessarily depending on my support. For example, like a comic like the Wonder Woman book. If I like that creative team, I'm going to give them my money, right? Or for example, a book that got ended way too soon was Batman and the Outsiders by Brian Hill. That book only made it to like 18 issues, but it was really good. It just did not sell that well, right? So you look at when you give those titles, I would say Savage Avengers fits under that title. I would say Robert Venditti's Hawkman fits under that title, right? You give them their business, and then they're going to get like 32 issue arcs or like 28 issue arcs rather than like less than 20. So I would say, like, if you really like a creative team, buy the floppies. If you know the story's going to have a concrete end, I would honestly say wait for the trade or hardcover, because 9 times out of 10, writers will plan to sell more that way. It also gets really expensive going to your LCS every week.
Yeah.
And picking up, everyone just said, at the same time. I love it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Steph, what about you? What's your favorite?
I kind of prefer monthly, even though I'm backed up at this point. Backlog. What's a backlog, bro? But like there's certain things like events like Civil War, Secret Invasion. Those read a lot better month to month because they were like building hype. Like, don't get me wrong, those read absolutely fine in trade and collected editions, but like the hype that was going into the monthly titles, like with Secret Invasion or Civil War, like you didn't know how it was going to turn out. Or is Cap going to win? Is Iron Man's side going to win? Secret Invasion. In hindsight, it was a little easier to figure out because it's like Brubaker was writing Cap at the time, so it's like someone like Cap obviously couldn't have been a Skrull, but you know the hype they were building, you didn't know. It was kind of like it felt like anybody could have been a Skrull at that point. So it's that stuff is like fun month to month, but then you have books like Brian Michael Bendis' Daredevil. Like I think that probably reads better in trade than it does month to month. So I really think it depends on the type of story being told. Brandon, you made a good point. If you know a book is going to be successful floppy wise, like if you're enjoying Batman, that's probably always good. That's always going to be in print. You know, you could probably be a Batman fan and wait for the trades on that one. But if it's like a like a mini or a newer title and you want to like really support those creators, it's probably best often to like get the floppies.
Right. I mean, prime example in today's comics is Rom V and Swamp Thing. It got such great fan reception. They gave it 8 more issues, and it was only supposed to be like 12 issues, 10 issues. So, that's like really saying this is why you should buy floppies. Is so like there's that immediate satisfaction for the fans, or there's that immediate downfall. Now, I have said this on multiple occasions. There are a lot of people in this platform that knock a first issue, like absolutely destroy first issue. That's not your job to destroy first issue. Like I know a lot of people who are against Donny Cates' Hulk and Al Ewing and Ron V's Venom when you haven't even seen these stories develop. Like, I'm sorry, they're decent enough to stick with it. So there's also that is if you are going to be reading floppies, give it a few issues before you say, screw it, I'm gone. Because that's how
about 3 issues before I like decide if I'm going to stick with it or not.
Right.
What about you, Albert?
I've had people ask me this question like on TikTok. They'll ask like, "What's your favorite format?" And I always say like people who read floppies or single issues like month to month, those are the most hardcore fans in comics, right? Like and the main reason is because you want to know the development of the story right away. You want to support the creators. You want like you're in full all the way. So I think, for me, if I feel really excited about Nightwing, right? Like I want to know what happens right away. I'm picking up the single issues, but I'll be honest, reading in like a deluxe hardcover, that's my favorite.
So satisfying.
I'm right now what's happening to me, like I'm reading Spider-Man 2099. I'm pretty sure there's no like hardcover for that. So I just got all the single issues, and the process of reading them, I got to take like 10 issues, put them in my book bag, hope that I don't squash them, and add a million little nicks on the spine, and and the actual process is like pull them out the bag, and it's a little bit labor intensive. So I think one of the negatives or the cons to reading single issues is like the delicacy. It's thin paper. It's usually not like high quality.
Royalty.
Exactly.
For me, she's royalty. That's like the first quote in like Force Awakens or something.
Exactly. So for me, and then I have the deluxe editions, which are not huge, like you were just saying, Brandon, like a 12 issue. I think that's like perfect.
Right. But like this is the Powers hardcover that I just picked up. It's like 12 issues, $30. You get a lot of bang for your buck, and you get what's really cool is you get some cool sketch covers in the back, like cool like designs.
Yeah. I love it. And it's not a delicate thing, like I take off the slipcase or the
dust jacket.
The dust jacket, that's what it's called. And I set that on this bookshelf, and then I'm like, I'm not worried about like, anything bad happening. The books, I have a lot of omnibus. I have those bigger hardcovers, like absolutes, and I love them for the artwork because they're bigger pages. But I'll be honest, it's a little annoying sometimes carrying a big, heavy book, with 1 million pages, and if I accidentally let go of it, it closes, and I gotta like refine my page and hope I don't skip, too much and get a spoiler. So yeah, those like a 12 issue, even 30 issue hardcover, that's my jam.
I would honestly say if you're someone who's just reading just for the stories, because there is a certain collection aspect to reading in single issues.
Yeah.
Right now, if you're only reading like 3 titles a week, because everyone here has different pull lists, I'm pulling almost everything on the shelf, and it's primarily for the channel. If it wasn't for the channel, I'd probably cut it down to 5 or 6. To be very honest, right? So not everyone has the luxury to pull 10 plus books a week. So if you're pulling like no more than 5, I would say that is really healthy for your wallet and like for that to satisfy that collector aspect. If you are primarily about what's inside the pages, like pretty much all of us here, you can still read your floppies without them getting damaged. It's just like you said, Albert, there is that delicacy, but hardcovers read fantastic. I always do both. I will go back and get the hardcover, and I will also pick up the singles just because they're 2 different styles.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, I'll forget everything that happened, if I'm being honest.
I'm picky, but it's like if I really love a series, I'll more than oftentimes have the floppies and have the trade or the hardcover to go along with it. Like I have like 2 different volumes of Earth X. Don't ask me why, but it's one of my favorite stories. So I've got like 2 sets of the trades the complete floppies. But you know,
that's me with Mr. Miracle. I have the trade paperback signed and sketched by both Tom King and Mitch Gerrards. I have all the single issues 1 through 12 all signed by Tom and Mitch, and the hardcover signed by Tom and Mitch, and they drew in both of them. So I was like, I looked at it the other day. I was like, do I really need to do all this? And I was like,
hey, it's a
and then
nice
I had
collection.
I had Steph over here, and I had Bryce over here. Bryce was like, no, you're stupid, and Steph was like, of course, yeah, that's just how comics exist. But
I fought off the urge today. I read the DC other history of the DC universe, something like that, the magazine format ones, and I got them all magazine format, read them all, loved it. Was at Barnes and Nobles today, and they were selling it half off. And I fought the urge just because I was like, I don't know, I'm trying to be careful with how much stuff I keep. So the fact that you guys are doing it, I'm a little jealous. I'm feeling some FOMO.
Well, I would say my shelf space and my room space does not agree with my decisions. I'll point that out first.
It sounds nice.
It sounds nice, but I'm just like, well, I have stacked up right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 12 omnibus stacked up. It's stacked up right next to where this computer is. And I'm just looking at it, and this thing's Yao Ming size. It's 7, it's 7'6", and I'm standing next to it like Tracy McGrady on that one sports card, just looking at it. It's not fun, but I would say the fun thing about reading in an omnibus or a trade paperback format is they're heavily discounted. Also, it's convenient. It's so convenient. And I've run into this a lot of times. When you're at a Comic-Con and you bring a writer, like a trade paperback or an omnibus, sometimes that means more than a 1 in 75 variant, or a 1 in 100 variant, or 1 in 25 variant of their work, right? Or if you have it window bag. I'm not knocking anybody who does any of that. You do you be happy with your collection or whatever you consume. Great. I've window bagged before. I've done that before, but I've noticed that writers or creators have more of an appreciation for people who make it known that they care more about what's inside of their book and the substance.
Yeah.
Or if it's if you're collecting a 6-issue miniseries and they're for what I would say $5 a pop, so it's you spent $30. Maybe you realize I didn't really enjoy the series too much towards the end, as opposed to just collecting it in trade, and you're saving yourself about $10, somewhere around there, which it's not that much. It's minuscule, but it's enough to matter. But save some money on a story I didn't really enjoy, or it's better financially to.
That's 2 trips to Taco Bell. You're on a budget.
At scale, though, those decisions, because I think if you're watching this channel, you're in the hobby, right? And at scale, we make these decisions, and they are going to have an impact, right? On how we finance the hobby, and it really is significantly cheaper. I mean, I have the X-Men omnibus for Claremont's run, and if you were gonna pick up single issues for that whole run, you're a psychopath. You're not gonna be able to read it. It's just not possible. You're gonna have to get the omnibus. That's the only way you're gonna actually be able to read it. That's the only way.
Right. And I mean, I know people that are taking that psychopathic behavior. Believe me, I do. But I'm telling you, Albert, they have deep pockets.
You have to.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I would say at this point, if you do want to go back and reread a series, I would 9 times out of 10 say go get the trade paperback or omnibus, or hell, even read it digitally, just because the market today is so inflated with a book can be $1 today. A new episode of Hawkeye could drop, and that's a $100 book.
Yeah.
Prime example.
All the time.
Right. I had one of the first books I ever bought was Sam Wilson, Captain America 3, the 1 in 25 variant, because it was in a dollar bin, and I really liked the cover as someone just getting into the hobby of Sam Wilson being Captain America. It's also the first appearance of Joaquin Torres. It was that book. Came into Falcon Winter Soldier.
Sam Wilson, yeah.
Because it was that variant, that comic was worth $150 for a character that's had one line that literally had a Boba Fett line and said right, it he did in Return of the Jedi, and just fell off.
Something similar to that happens. It was World War Hulk. It's a decent enough storyline. It's fun, but there was some rumor about what it was a rumor. Like it's come from nothing with any
Oh yeah,
substance and people. That book shot up. Like it was a dollar bin book all day, and it went through the roof.
Yeah.
Well, not through the roof, but way more than what it's worth. And people.
Yeah. Comic Time, you're a real one. But anyway, but honestly, if you're reading a series from Jump, I would honestly say stick with it. Which leads me to my question, Stefan. I think you could answer this. When you were reading Old Man Logan, what was it like when the claws finally came out?
It was see, that's a moment right there where I almost feel like, but I feel like you can still get a powerful moment by it being read in trade. But it was like after like 6 months of waiting and seeing this iteration of Logan kind of trying to be a pacifist and refusing to pop his claws regardless of anything going on. When he finally unleashed, it was kind of like you had been waiting 6 months. Like it was kind of like all that you yourself as reader had this pent up rage for Logan, so it was like really worth it.
Like you felt like you wanted to pop the claws. It was like, yes!
Yeah, the anticipation, that moment when it actually happened, you're like, yes, but I still think you can get that out of reading it in trade, but that is
I did not.
The
reason why
you sped through it.
The reason why I asked was because I was on a podcast, like when I first started getting into the community. And we read Old Man Logan, we talked about it, and one of my friends who was on there from Jump mentioned that, and he was like, just reading this, like going back and rereading it, it was like nothing. Like you're missing that whole like 6 month wait period. You're itching for those claws to pop out. Kind of like in Daredevil. If anyone's been reading Daredevil from Jump, how long did we wait for this man to get out of jail? And it's just now, like a year and a half later. Or Nightwing, prime example. Now, I am very ashamed to say this, but I was reading Nightwing ever since Rebirth started. So I suffered through him getting shot in the head. We got like 30-some issues of Rick effing Grayson. How great. My favorite part of Joker War was when Batman gave him the Nightwing suit again. And I was like, he's back. Like, I think I probably did cartwheels in my front lawn, and my mom was like questioning me, and my dogs were barking. It was not a great experience, but I was so happy that I had that happen. I think reading that in a trade, you missed that moment in Joker War 100%. How do I know? We did it for the channel. So,
just to speak on that real quick, you talking about that just made me realize how much Dan DiDio had it out for Dick Grayson, because he tried to kill him like 16 years ago in Infinity War. Many times he's tried to kill him. And right before
Infinity War or Battle of the Cow?
Infinite Crisis. And right before he leaves, he kind of does it with the Rick Grayson thing. Can't kill himself. Shoot him in the head and erase his memory.
Oh, no. He killed him in Battle of the Cow. And then, like, New 52 happened. And he's, like, Grayson out, like, God knows where. He killed him in Battle of the Cow. He didn't kill Dick Grayson?
No, Dick didn't. That's what the transition into him becoming Batman and Damian becoming Robin.
I thought it was Batman R.I.P.
That was Batman that died.
Battle of the Cow was...
That was like a throwaway miniseries, but...
I'll do my research on that later. Maybe I'm misspeaking. But I feel like reading in floppies, there's a lot of great moments that build that energy, which make you a comic fan. If you're an avid comic reader and you have a lower budget to work with, I would honestly say pick 1 or 2 books or 3 books so you can have those moments that you know will come out. Like, let's say you love Daredevil. You want to read Daredevil every month, just pick up Daredevil. It's $4. $4 can mean something to anybody else, right? I'm not going to say, oh, $4 is expensive for you and it's dirt cheap for Joe Schmo across the street, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you can be having an allowance, you could be working, you could not be working, right? I'm not going to tell you what your living situation is. But if you have a favorite character, I would recommend have those moments. Have those fan moments. Think about when you walk in to see a movie, right? And you get to like that one moment that has that fan service that speaks to you. And I'm not going to spoil No Way Home, but there's a lot of that. Actually, everyone here's seen No Way Home, right?
We have.
When Daredevil walked across the damn screen, oh my gosh, that was my moment. So imagine that in a single issue. That's all I gotta say. Like, you're just gonna go raving for that.
I compare like reading in a trade or an omnibus to like binge watching a TV show.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're just like powering through. But if you watched like Game of Thrones and you did the week to week hustle and you talked about it when, with all your friends and your work coworkers and like that anticipation build, and then you got those breaks between each season, like that is an experience. And a person who binges it and watches it over like winter break, they didn't have the same experience watching. So I think that's for a lot of people who don't, I think that's a good comparison. Just like the binging experience.
Right, and I agree because I was watching Game of Thrones my senior year of high school, and that was the year that the 8th season came out, and I watched all 7 seasons to get to the ending, and I made it in time for the finale. And that took watching like 4 episodes a day. It was like,
yeah.
Like Amelia Clark was my wife for like a solid like 4 months.
A show like Lost, well, I'm sure it's fine if someone binged it. Like watching the show week to week and trying to develop your own theories to what was going on with the characters and certain plot threads was like really, it was a big appealing part
it's a meaningful experience.
Yeah, it adds to the experience of watching the show. So it's pros and cons, because I'm not going to sit here and, because I'll still record stuff to this day. I just kind of recently did it with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's only 8 episodes this season, sadly, but because there's only 8 episodes, I've kind of like recorded all the episodes and I'll watch them back to back to back, as opposed to just kind of, but that's not necessarily a show you need to develop.
Right. It always depends, right? Like you can't say that every comic book is great, in single issue, and every, like I just read Strange Adventures, and like the 12 issue, I read it month to month, and man, like I waited a whole year to finish that story, and I'll be honest, it was a little bit of a pain. Or James Tynion the Fourth's what's it called? Nice House on the Lake.
A Nice House on the Lake. I can't read that, and like I don't know what everyone else is saying, but that is a story I can't finish.
I'll kind of get month to month. I'll kind of pick it up and like, what happened? Like I'll vaguely remember, but
because you don't know the characters. Like there's 12 characters, and they're all brand new,
and they're not even at the front guide.
Yeah, and every issue it's a new character's perspective, kind of. So it's like I don't think that it's all uniform,
Right.
It really depends. I wish they told you before you started.
Right.
It's better.
On the flip side, you'll get a story like Strange Academy, which has all new characters, and it's very rememberable.
Oh, yeah. Scotty Young is a beast.
I mean, I would say like that's one of Marvel's strongest books. And that has a whole new characters, and you're just attached. So it's that level of almost blindsided familiarity, because we have like Doyle Dormammu. Obviously, his father's like Big Boy Dormammu. I don't know how to say that. Dad. I don't want to say like Dad Dormammu because that sounds like really weird.
Big Daddy.
Yeah, sure.
Big Daddy D.
Big Daddy D. Yeah, let's go with it. Oh, YouTube. Oh my gosh. Big Daddy Dormammu. That's how Ewing thought during Last Annihilation. But anyway, I digress. And then you get like the Asgardian twins, and it's they obviously we get that connection to the Enchantress, who we're already familiar with. We get like a lot of different retcons, but it's done in a way where the characters are fresh. Now, I will say the last time I've read a Tom King book in single issues was his Batman and his Mr. Miracle, and I will say never again, because I've gotten the hardcover treatments of Tom King, and it's so much easier to follow the story and the flow. And again, like we were talking about earlier, those like big series that are going to end, that will have a beginning and end, should be left for the hardcover, and companies sell more of those hardcovers. Like you can go back in your dollar bins, you'll find all Mr. Miracle, all 12 Mr. Miracles, and this is an award, a 2-time, back-to-back year, all-time winning series.
Yeah,
it is critically acclaimed across the almost like the nation, across the world. Even is that this book is a top 3 book of the 21st century, arguably. That's putting it with Ultimate Spider-Man, and that's probably putting it with Saga too. If we're talking like, it's arguably up there on some people's lists, right?
It's a well-written book, but if we're talking impact-wise, I wouldn't put it up there with Saga or Ultimate Spider-Man.
I wouldn't put up impact-wise, but when you're talking about the message that it sends and just how like critically acclaimed it is, how thoughtful, technique-wise was fantastic. It is one of the better books that we've had in this.
I read that, actually. I read that recently. I was sitting on it for years. That became a problem like the last 2 years of me just kind of stacking books. And even while I was reading it, I enjoyed the read, but I was thinking to myself during the read through, like, this will probably read better in trade, in a collected edition.
Right.
I definitely felt that way. So I'll give you that. Absolutely.
And then a good point that Albert made earlier was, if you want to go back and gain knowledge of, if you want to read a Fantastic Four story from Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, you're not going to pay $75 for an issue that's banged up, because you don't care about owning that particular issue. There's almost like that sense of desireness to what you have. Is like, do I care enough to go out of my way to hunt down every single issue of a 30-issue book that ended, right? Mm-hmm. Or a 30-issue run? Or can I just buy everything at once? Which do I care about? Right.
And I think also, like, the most frustrating thing for, I think, people who are not comic book readers, like, who pick up singles, is if you pick up a random book from the past, it could be in the middle of a story, and like that's a whole challenge on figure out what's the beginning of the arc, and like it's just impossible to figure out unless you like really dive deep into research, and I still haven't figured out how to do that.
Right. I would honestly, my reading experience started in dollar bins at random points. I mean, you can put together the pieces to the puzzle, because like you see, okay, this is a character I'm familiar with, right?
It's a lot of extra work as opposed to starting from issue one. Because that's how I did my reading as well. Like, I just started from somewhere, but that's way more intimidating and off-putting than it is from starting from point one.
I guess you just see a character like, you're like, oh, I know that guy.
Right.
You're right.
Right.
I mean, and thank God we kind of have the MCU and the DCEU, and we have a lot of our indie publishers getting creator shows, so that we can like have a face or like have a voice. Like, I don't know, like I'm reading Star Wars and all of a sudden, like literally Carrie Fisher's talking to me. So it's like, or when I'm reading even Star Wars now, we have Kira in Star Wars right now. Like Amelia Clark is like speaking to me. Like every time I see Kira's face, I hear her voice.
That's how it is with kind of like Batman, Joker, or Wolverine. I'll always hear like 90s X-Men cartoon Wolverine,
right?
Wayne or Joker. Like, it's just how I envision those characters when I'm reading them.
Right. Howard, do you get like that?
Wolverine for sure. When you said Wolverine, I was like, absolutely. I'm rewatching the 90s cartoon, and I was like, that voice is so perfect. Like whoever was casted for that, genius.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'm not even gonna get started on Cyclops because he sucks. But even like at this point, I would even say Invincible. Like you get a familiar. How can I say that word today?
Familiarity.
You get to know a lot of these characters just through hearing that voice, seeing their adventure on the screen.
I mean, could you read Harry Potter and not imagine Daniel Radcliffe? Like they're tied forever.
It's like that's a great point. That is honestly a great point. But when I first started reading and I picked up an issue, I think the first book I ever picked up was a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I didn't have that voice. I mean, of course, like I think Darth Bane was in that issue. So it's like I had Darth Bane, like kind of, because he had like a video game voice. But it's like I didn't have anything. Like I didn't have Yoda say like talking to my ear or nothing like that. So you kind of have to use your imagination.
You read the book before seeing the movies?
No, it was Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, you read that book before seeing the Star Wars movie?
It was like a random issue because it was like issue 5.
No, I mean, that's fine. But you read that issue before seeing any Star Wars movie?
No.
Okay.
Star Wars was like my favorite thing. So when my grandmother took me to the comic store when I was like 10, that was like my first comic book. She saw I liked Star Wars and picked up that issue for me.
That's dope, yeah.
So like I didn't know any of the characters. I mean, Kit Fisto was on the cover, but it turns out that wasn't Kit Fisto, and I was like kind of bummed. I was a big Kit Fisto fan as a kid.
Is he the one with
the green?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was that one. Oh, that guy was great. He unfortunately got his butt kicked by Darth Sidious, so I mean, it is what it is. But there kind of goes a long way when you have that distinctness to a character and you're reading them for the first time. So I would say if you're getting into comics nowadays, especially even the CW, right, has a huge voice.
Yeah. It's I watched The Flash. I mean, everybody's watched it at least a little bit, right?
All right.
You watched it, and I don't like the actor.
You don't like Grant Gustin?
I mean, I think he's good, but when I think of the Flash, in my mind, it's not him.
That's understandable.
It's not Ezra Miller either, so we still have yet to find your. No, Ezra Miller is trash.
Urza, however you say his name. I think you said it, B, but I think he would be best fit as a Bart more than anything. Like
Ezra.
Yeah, Ezra. People were saying kind of like he's more of a Wally, and I was like,
he's not a Wally. Really, that is not my Wally.
Really a Wally. No, but Bart would be way more fitting for someone like his personality. Grant Gustin, I think he does a serviceable enough job, but I feel as Albert does. Like I've never really seen him and like, yep, that's Barry Allen. He's just he's nailing it.
I mean, I don't like Barry Allen, so like I looked at him, I was like, and I looked at Jake Garrick, I was like, yeah, you're okay. But I have yet to see like Wally West, who I think is the best, is like kind of like the Flash that I would look up to, and I've yet to see that kind of person, especially because Barry's like, my biggest gripe about Barry is he just goes way too into his emotions, knowing that it'll affect everyone. He's like, if I'm sad, everyone's going to feel 3 times worse than I am. If I'm hungover, you're blacking out, kind of thing.
I respect the actor's passion for the role. I think that ties a lot into why the show's gone on so long, why he has a big fan base. That goes with like Jason Momoa too. Like he's not who I envisioned Arthur to be, but he does a good enough job as Aquaman. He has his own little flair, and he's he's charming as an actor.
I think he's good. He's a good version of it, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, like Jason Momoa is a different version of Aquaman, and it's just not what. I like Barry Allen. I've been reading a lot of the I read like Francis Manapul and and whatever is Williamson, I think, their whole run, and I loved it. I thought
Flash?
it was neat. And like ever since I finished that, I was just like, I can't even imagine like what that would look like in the big screen, and just I don't know. He doesn't. I guess I think that the success of the Flash show is undeniable, right? Super popular. I think that it's gonna be really fun to see in the next few years all the young people who can't afford to buy comic books, them getting into Marvel and getting into the Flash in the future, right? Because that show is just like it's
iconic, right?
Yeah.
And Stefan has said this a lot of times. It's like American mythology is your superheroes.
For sure. Yeah. I don't know if he's the guy.
No, he's not the Flash. Flash would never be my guy to ever say, hey, guys, if you really want a good Hermes, that one, Hermes, yes, that's going to be your favorite. I'm sorry, but that I will never. That's like saying to my kid, you're going to be a Ravens fan when you grow up. No, not happening. Sorry, Justin, but
I think my only, this is not related at all to our topic. My only beef with the show is that the main villains are always speedsters. And I'm just like, this is the most lazy way of writing ever. Like Spider-Man has electrical people. He has goblins. He's got, a Sandman. He's got all these different things. There's no spider villain.
Spider-Man has a whole petting zoo and a half.
It's just like it's oppositional forces that are completely different. And the Flash show is just like, it's the Reverse Flash. And I'm a huge Reverse Flash fan, but like only him, nobody else.
No other species got. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Zoom, get out of here. Go away.
No, that's enough. Like I don't need that.
So let's tie this back to something that's relevant. Everything is like of what is most convenient for you, and that's ultimately up to your judgment. If you want to start collecting comic books, you want to have that feeling of I'm going to my LCS and I'm going to pick up everything on the shelf and consume everything. We've all been there. Read your floppies. Yep. If you're solely in it just to gain the knowledge and to have that enjoyment, have those casual conversations, you're more of a casual reader, I would say pick 2 books, because floppies are a very traditional way to read comic books. There's no doubt about it. There is nothing better than reading your favorite character the day they come out. I'm sorry, I speak for everybody. That's a fact. Right?
Yeah.
Do that. But also, if there's a character that you want to get into, trade digitally. Find something that's more efficient for you to read, and find something that works for yourself. If you're the person to take your books and to send them to CGC, that works for you, great. This hobby is all about navigating what works for you and who you're surrounded by that shares that same style. Right? And that's really the beauty of this hobby, is there's so many ways to consume the the thing we love the most, and that is our superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. So I think a great capping point on this conversation is really what Team Nerd Herd says. If you want to do it right, collect what you like or read what you like. If you don't read if there's a book that I did not like and I knew I wasn't going to like it, so I bought the paperback because I still owed it to myself. Check it out. That was unfortunately Heroes Reborn. Stefan knew that was coming. So like I kind of felt like I cheapskated myself reading it for $35. Like I didn't owe it that much, but it also felt like, you know what? That's much better than paying like $5 an issue and like spending $40 on it. So
$5 off, hey.
Yeah. So it's really all about that.
No, absolutely.
Completely agree.
Right. And whatever you guys are reading right now, as always, this is the place where you guys can share it with us. We'll be responding back. Currently I'm finishing up my New Mutants omnibus. I posted about it on Instagram a little bit earlier in the week. I have like 6 issues left. So really excited about that. Getting that done with. And then up next, I'm probably going to be diving into Jeff Johns' JSA. Digitally right now, I'm reading Amazing Spider-Man. I'm just binging that whole series. So reading digitally, binging that has been pretty worth it, just so I can have the whole run. And that's honestly like the best part about digital is you have everything. Stefan, what are you reading right now?
Everything. I'm trying to knock out my backlog.
I'd love to hear it. What's a backlog?
I don't know. But today I was reading Trees, Three Fates. It's a book by Warren Ellis and Jason Howard. It's kind of like
awesome.
Arrival. That's kind of how it starts. That's the setting. It starts with like these alien pillars, and it's like a murder mystery. But I've only read 2 issues so far.
There you go. You got me thinking of that song "Dead on Arrival" by Fall Out Boy. I like that song. Albert, what are you reading right now, brother?
I am reading a lot very quickly. Right now, I just read the first 3 issues of Spider-Man 2099, and I liked it. And I have a bunch more that I picked up at a dollar store, so I'm going to keep running with that. I just finished Gotham by Gaslight, which was cool. I'm reading the Reckless series. I don't know if you guys know about that.
Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips.
Yes, yeah. So I just got I got 2 of those books, so I'm probably going to read that tomorrow.
There you go.
I'm reading a lot too. I'm trying to make a lot of videos for the TikTok, just because they're fun. It's fun to get engagement and people like commenting what they think. Everybody's telling me to read Lady Killer. I just picked that one up too from Joelle Jones. So I'm reading a lot.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it is you meet a lot of people in here and they just give you recommendations. I will say once you put yourself in that perspective where you are the one doing the content, you tend to understand how to distinctively say, okay, you would like this book better on this platform. So I would say a lot of that. If you guys do have any questions, look at your fellow content creators. Ask us. We're always happy to answer. So if you have a question for us, you want to be addressed, you can either DM us all on Instagram. Everything will be in the description below. So you guys can follow Albert on TikTok. My man got over 10K. Big salute to you, Albert.
15.
Nice station.
15. I'm so sorry, Albert.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That was that's
like saying no. Albert had like 2 cups. He's like, no. 5. You got enough caffeine in your system, man. You got like enough followers. Okay.
It happened today.
Big congrats, Albert. Yo,
it was a cool thing to see today. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that. So
15K. Big congrats. We just hit 500 here a couple weeks ago. So both platforms are rolling strong. And make sure you guys go check out Albert on all of his social medias. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This was Chris on Infinite Rants. We will see you guys on Friday again for Archives. We will be doing Civil War. I'm not sure if I'm leading it or Stefan is, but we're going to be figuring that out real soon. Civil War is honestly like one of our favorite shared books between the 4 of us here. The last week's Archives was Nightwing by Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo, that had all 4 of us for the very first time. So me, Bryce, Michael, and Stefan. Michael led it. Fantastic episode, probably my favorite one yet. Then Chris on Infinite Rants this week. I believe we're going to be seeing Albert up next week to be talking about content conversations, how to get started making content, and kind of how to distinguish which content speaks to you. That's going to be a great video. I'm excited to have Albert back. And make sure you guys check out everyone on the PCP Army Bad Batch. I can't wait to see what everyone drops today for Whiplash Wednesday. It's going to be a great day, you guys. Take care. Let us know what you guys picked up. Let us know what you're reading. Station, everybody.